Ladies and gentlemen, I like to oftentimes create analogies of the game of Big Brother and compare it and juxtapose it to another sport. So in this case, I would love to break down the Carson, Cynthia, Shanna fiasco as being very similar to basketball. Once upon a time, Kobe Bryant won 3 easy championships with Shaq, and he thought he could replace Shaq. He allowed the Lakers to go ahead and trade Shaq away for Lamar Odom, which is ironic in itself. I believe they got Brian Grant and Caron Butler in that deal. At the time, a lot of people believe the Lakers got hosed. Miami won one title, but then Kobe was able to rebuild with Pau Gasol, Andrew Bynum, and those guys, right? Now, why am I mentioning this? I'm mentioning this because Kobe had to play with Smush Parker and Kwame Brown to realize how good he had it with Shaq. I believe Carson, spending this past week without Shayna and having to deal with Cynthia's incompetence and having to dumb himself down to allow her to catch up to his speed and realize she ruined his game, it had to have been inner torture for him. In the same ways that I'd argue Kobe going through all those seasons where, yeah, he may have been a scoring champion, but he wasn't winning nothing. That had to be torture for him. Understand, Carson had that Kobe-type potential to perform well on this season. But in my opinion, because he didn't have the right team built around him, when everything hit the fan, he was set up to fail. And that's why in this rant, ladies and gentlemen, the 16th rant of Celebrity Big Brothers Season 3, I'm not entitled better late than never. I'm not only going to break down all the subtle intricacies of what's going on them live feeds, even though they were very boring this week, hence why we had Jerry O cameo show up on tonight's episode. And here's another problem I got, production. You all have had 3 straight Friday night 2-hour episodes, and we haven't got a single live HOH during any of them. It used to be we only got a 2-hour episode when you would give us a double eviction. Now you're giving us 2-hour episodes where you're stretching out just a veto ceremony and a veto comp. This used to be stuff that had its own 1-hour episode. Now you're stretching it out to 2 hours, and it's really feeling like you guys are low on content because you refuse to show the truth about your faves. So it's forcing you to look for other people to be the talent to bring in to entertain us because the people in the house aren't being very entertaining now. There's a lot of things that I want to discuss. Carson has been sent to the Shadow Realm now. It took until yesterday and this morning for Cynthia and Carson to even admit that they missed their only opportunity to get Miesha out. Oh, it took y'all several days for that to come in. But understand, Carson Ben knew this. He been knew this. And now we know for a fact the production has told Todrick and Miesha about how the public is clowning Cynthia for that horrible HOH week because now Todrick and Miesha, the Wonder Twins, now they have the vote of approval. Now they have the reason to bash Cynthia on them feeds, knowing that no one will cancel them for those thoughts because the majority of us feel that way about her. So understand, I saw certain things during tonight's episode that let me know production is clowning Cynthia and they're making it seem like they're laughing with her. I did not want this timeline. Understand, I did not want her to be the brunt of every joke. I did not want her to be looked at and be viewed as one of the worst players of all time. For me to see Carson on his way out of this game admit if Todrick or Miesha lied in any way about Shayna, he's gonna really be angry about that and he plans to watch some episodes. Understand, ladies and gentlemen, this finale is bound to get super messy, and I just wish we could fast forward to Wednesday because I'm telling y'all, not that many episodes until then are going to be worth it, but I promise y'all tonight's rant will be. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the critically acclaimed, the Pop the Trunk podcast, now Patreon exclusively sponsored Hall of Fame. Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. I'm, of course, your humble host, Dave Smith, Pretty Boy Smitty, Protocol Paul, Pearl Game Ultra, Smith Dog Trio, The Rant God, Hotep Thanos, Throne Thanos, Metro Kaiba, the Pro Black Prodigy, the Shadow Realm Shaman, the Pro Down Punisher, and the No Sleep Assassin, here to bring balance back to Celebrity Big Brother, Season 3, all of the above, on that ISAT test in ACT. You know what it is. And ladies and gentlemen, This is the 16th rant entitled Better Late Than Never. First things foremost, I endorse Recency Bias Radio endorses Shanna Moakler for AFP. Please text Shanna Moakler to 21523 so we can ensure the W so all these haters can have the stink face. All right, listen, we did the same thing during BB19 to upstage Paul and Josh by rewarding Cody, and Shayna is far less problematic than Cody ever was, so I don't want to see much pushback on this. She's the only deserving winner at this point, and that's a fact. Now, Julie has notified us how the schedule will be looking moving forward, so let me go ahead and get a quick little rundown. Tomorrow night, there will not be a rant because that seems to be a waste of an episode. You all will see me again on Sunday night, okay, Coach? That needs to be stated. Monday night will be a double eviction episode, so most likely we're going to lose Todd and Lamar on the same night. All right, look, I'm too woke for these folks. I know what it is, because Cynthia, who in their right mind is going to take out Cynthia? If the straight black men ain't gonna do it, if Miesha and Todd ain't gonna do it, no one's gonna do it. Okay? So that basically means either Todd and Miesha are evicted on Monday, or Todd and Lamar are evicted. It's so easy. I can go ahead and predict that right now for you. Because at the end of the day, people want Todrick at the end because he can't win, and people want Cynthia at the end because she can't win a comp. At the end of the day, those are the two sure bets for Final Three. If I had to guess it right now, those are the sure bets. It's about who gets to get that other third spot. And that's the game we have because we allowed so many mediocre to borderline bad players make the end this season. You know, someone commented on Patreon and say, damn, this might be one of the first times 4 of your bottom 4 and your worst of first all made Final 5. And I said, well, this is a testament to how people aren't playing the game to win. Right? When only 2 people out of 11 actually want to win, and the rest of them just want to help the other 2 win. I mean, this is what we get. So, at the end of the day, I don't think my system is flawed. I think this casting during this season was flawed, and I think y'all agree with me. Now, I want to get into the live feeds talk, mainly because, like most Friday nights, I feel like the episode did not tell y'all what was really happening. They led people astray. They made fans believe Carson was going to stay over Lamar. They made it seem as if Lamar during the veto competition was making noises that led to Miesha lose her focus. How does someone making noise make you see things wrong? Miesha, what are you talking about? Who are you, Daredevil? You know what I'm saying? Oh, can you shut up so I can see, bro? Like, what is Miesha talking about? But that's neither here nor there. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to get into Thursday's feeds, a little bit of today's feeds, and I want to break down what's really going on here. Because what you're going to understand is, once I get down to the brass tacks of this, you guys are going to completely agree with me that production has notified this entire house about how they're being viewed based off certain rhetoric being used. I mean, I'm seeing Cynthia, someone who was so sure she made the right deal by getting rid of Shayna. Now all of a sudden she's saying, oh, if it wasn't for Todd and Lamar, we would have took out Miesha. What? When I saw that, I said, oh yeah, I gotta take notes, y'all. Y'all need an impromptu. This gonna be a pseudo deep dive, all right? I know y'all used to the deep dive Fridays, and I'm trying to provide something for you here. But I understand my Wednesday night's rant had so much detail to it. I mean, a lot of the things I called, people are just now catching up on right now. So here we go, Coach, all right? So get yourself a cold beverage. We're gonna go in, all right? And then we'll double back around to tonight's episode around the questions portion later. And hopefully feeds will let us know who the new HOH is on top of that. We're rooting for you, Lamar. Go ahead and go get that, Coach. Go get it. Queen's in the building. You know what I mean? Shout outs to Rhode Island. Now, around 7:20 a.m. on Thursday morning, Carson and Cynthia discussed the game alone after Miesha won the veto. So understand, everything we're talking about is post-veto at this point, so we're not that far off, right? I was waiting to see Carson and Cynthia admit their mistakes, but they refused to. Cynthia seems focused on figuring out why she isn't on the block next to Carson. Seems to me she wanted Todd to take her out after Shayna because she keeps acting disappointed or paranoid about not being on the block. Cynthia needed damn near 3 days to realize she wasn't put up for Todd's game because he needs her to help him and Lamar take out Miesha and Todrick. I've already told y'all, Cynthia values her adopted son more than Todd and Lamar, and feeds are starting to show it because instead of Cynthia admitting, yeah, I ran Carson's HOH and that's why Shane is gone, she tries to make it seem like, well, Lamar and Todd, if y'all weren't so focused on that Final Four with Miesha and Todrick, we would have took the shot. What are you talking about, Coach? The shot would have never worked because y'all refused to throw up Todrick over Todd or Lamar. Y'all threw up Todd, remember? Don't worry, we'll get there, but understand. See, my problem with Cynthia is that when Carson went HOH, she made it all about her and who she wanted out. Now that it's time to take the blame and everyone knows it's your fault, she wants to share that, though. It's not all about her anymore. This is narcissistic behavior, ladies and gentlemen. Pay close attention. Pay close attention. Now, Cynthia needed damn near 3 days to realize she wasn't put up for Todd's game because he needs her to help him and Lamar take out Miesha and Todrick. All right, I already said that part, but still. I've also predicted Cynthia will know Carson will just be another number for Todrick in Final Five before anyone else. I've also predicted Cynthia will now be another number for Todrick in Final Five. When you add the context of how Lamar was thrown under the bus by Cynthia at the start of this week for playing both sides after she allowed Carson to choke, on top of the fight she had with Todd, mixed in with the help she has only given Todrick all game, it's a no-brainer she will do whatever it takes for Todrick to win over the other black men. Keep in mind, Todd made everyone believe he had a Final Two with Miesha, but now even Todd sees he can't beat her. Cynthia now finally sees her and Carson have nobody conveniently after Miesha won veto, but she never calls Miesha out for being as fake or breaking the deal. She just thinks Todd winning HOH allowed the deal to be broken, but that's nonsense. When Shanna made a deal, she kept her word. Miesha promised both of them would make Final Four, and using that veto ensures that, but Carson and Cynthia ain't applying none of that pressure on ain't none of that same pressure they applied on Shanna with the Wonder Twins. Finally, Cynthia sees Lamar and Todd as the free agents they are, but it's too late in the game to make much of a difference. Better late than never, I guess. Now all of a sudden she is worried about being picked off. But if Shayna was there, this wouldn't be a problem. Also, Cynthia wants to approach Miesha and Todrick for a Final Four to get Miesha to use veto on Carson, but then she remembered she would go up if veto was used because Todd is HOH. Even her suggestions are bad. Shayna would have better ideas, but she didn't want her help. Then Cynthia says Carson needs to go out fighting by trying to make another deal with Miesha and Todrick. But when Todd won the HOH, why didn't Cynthia ask Carson to make a deal with Todd then? Why do you wait for the last possible moment to come up with these ideas, Cynthia? See, this makes me think production's giving you ideas, because I don't think you understand the game enough to come up with this on your own. I really don't. And we'll get into tonight's episode. The idea y'all came up with to convince Miesha to not use a veto she was already not going to use. You let her off the hook for betraying you, and you're trying to act like it was your idea for her to betray you. Well, if that's the case, why couldn't y'all act like it was your idea for Shayna to flip week 1? See that? See that? See that? I'm trying to get y'all to see the lack of energy being consistent. But let's continue. Are y'all noticing how every game move Cynthia comes up with has to involve Todrick? I'm starting to suspect production is feeding her ideas because she has proven to not get the game. She stumbles into moves that benefit her on accident and hurt her allies all the time. Cynthia doesn't even know that Carson was already punked by Todd to not even compete for the veto or use it just to keep her off the block. So Carson is convincing Cynthia he just wants Miesha and Todrick to vote to keep him over Miesha using the veto itself, which once again shows Carson had no real confidence in Cynthia to win veto and pull him off. She's talking all this veto queen stuff, when in reality all she did was take out Shayna so Miesha could have that too. Cynthia stays over Lamar easily if Carson wins veto and takes himself off, but Carson is too scared to even risk that because he must protect the black woman at all times for his brand. Even if that black woman is actively ruining his game every day and hasn't taken advantage of being black to improve Carson's position in the game at all. The same Cynthia saying they needed to leave with class to show how much better they are than Shayna now says they shouldn't leave without a fight. Which one is it, coach? But seeing as this entire week is Cynthia's fault, she should be the one approaching Todd and Miesha to take off Carson. Didn't she let both of them convince her Shanna was a bigger threat than both of them to Carson last week? Well, it's on her then to remind them of that, but like I said before, Todrick gets special treatment and Miesha has these folks shook. Cynthia then says, if we can't make a deal, that's because nobody will work with us. Well, someone was willing to work with y'all, but y'all just backdoored her. I'm pretty sure that scared some folks off. You know what I'm saying? Like, use your brain. Use your cabeza. Only black folks who don't have a choice want to work with you, Cynthia. And that's only after Carson leaves because you ruin his credibility with them. And poor Carson, he clearly knows what time it is a lot more than Cynthia does. He knows he is done because Miesha won veto and has targeted him every week of this game. So imagine the worst player in the game giving you advice to make another sham of a deal with the same people that have already played you for a fool. Imagine backdooring the only shield you had, which has you in a position of being punked into throwing a veto while you were on the block, and the person who isn't on the block is trying to gaslight you into fighting to stay when she has already pretty much dug your grave. Of course Cynthia wants another deal with Todrick and Miesha. She has screwed over every other player but them. And I told y'all this is why she's going to end up in Final 3 with them. Cynthia exposed that she trusts Todrick more than Todd and Lamar in this conversation several times. If this was strategic, I wouldn't mind it. But it's identity politics being masqueraded as gameplay. Cynthia plans to ask Miesha and Todrick individually about whether Todd wanted to vote her out over Chris week 3. All of this is irrelevant, though, and it's just proving to me Cynthia has always wanted to sit at that cool kids table. I've been telling y'all about this now. Even when Miesha is the veto winner and clearly is betraying Cynthia, Cynthia is still kissing her butt. Even if Todrick and Miesha will be the 2 votes sending Carson home, Cynthia would rather be paranoid about Lamar and Todd. She thinks she has to make a deal with Todd or Lamar, but she should make a deal with both. Carson then straight up reads Cynthia's recruit energy and tells her to work with Miesha and Todrick because she obviously already wants to and just wants his blessing to go run to them. That's what this whole conversation was about. Because every time Carson said, you should work with Lamar. You should consider working with Todd. You'll probably need both. But she isn't really taking him up on any of those suggestions. So conventional wisdom would tell Carson, all right, let me just throw out Miesha and Todrick and see if she bites at that bait. She bit at it immediately because that's where she wants to be. Because in her mind, she only beats Todrick because he's hated. Well, I'm hoping that's on her mind. I'm hoping she isn't just doing all this for Todrick to win over her. But that might be wishful thinking. She just wants Carson's blessing to go to Todrick and Miesha in Final 5 because she knows the optics of this will always look bad. Cynthia and Carson both give Todd credit for being a better player than they assumed. Cynthia even says he is a phoenix who has risen, but I bet y'all she still works with Miesha and Todrick before Todd. At this point, Cynthia is the Black Veronica. The only reason why she has a chance to win the game is because there will be friends and jury, and most likely 2 other black folks. I mean, I'm just being honest. It won't be because of anything she accomplished. And that really is a sign that this game is about to go down the drain. I'm trying to warn black folks about this because this is not good for the long-term condition of this game and the integrity of it long-term. If someone like Cynthia can end up winning this game just because Todrick is more hated, yeah, we'll have a great moment of clowning Todrick after a little while. But he's going to go on tour, go about his life. The cookout's going to take most of the bullets for him, which is going to ruin their legacy from BB23, which none of us will want. Black women are going to take a hit by proxy through Cynthia being an undeserving winner. This is going to lead to more people asking questions over whether the 2 black women who won the last 2 AFPs deserved it or not, or if that was given to them based off identity politics too. It's going to lead to a Pandora's box of stuff. I'm trying to be ahead of the story because I know this community. I've been on both ends of it. This season, I seem to be heroic to a lot of people because I'm saying what needs to be said and other people are scared to say it. But every season, I say what people are scared to say. That just goes to tell you a lot of people see why I am a necessary opposition this season more than other seasons. Because I see the danger zone that we are approaching, right? I see it. And if I'm seeing it, I know non-black folks see it, but they can't afford to say it because they don't want to be canceled for at least saying they see it. So please allow me to do it for y'all, all right? Then Carson further exposes how scared he was to fight for his life in the game by admitting even if he won the veto, he wasn't going to use it. Oh, man. So it didn't even matter who won veto this week as well. Thanks, production. You just gave us another comp on live television that nobody needed to see because it had no stakes. What a winning formula you all are creating. You feel what I'm saying? So let's do the tally. Tonight's veto didn't matter because Carson wouldn't have used it even if he won, and we know Cynthia wouldn't have won. The HOH before that didn't matter because Carson wasn't competing in it, and everyone threw it to Todd. The veto before that didn't matter because Shanna was froze out of competing in it. So that's 3 straight episodes, basically with 3 straight comps. The episode is built around the comps, and y'all are devaluing your own competitions. Am I the only one seeing the red flags in all of this? Because if Big Brother no longer has the competitions, what does it become then? The circle? What are we doing here? You're stripping yourself down of all the things that made you unique just to acquiesce and pamper 2 players that Grodner has the hots for? I'm just keeping it real. To me, this is subtraction. This is subtraction by addition. You feel it, dig me? But it is what it is. They probably not listening to me, but they might be because Julie's questioning towards Carson tonight sounded like she watches RBR. Salute to you, Julie, if you do. Now, Cynthia would talk to Miesha alone 20 minutes later in the pink room. She clearly is twerking for a roster spot in their alliance, and it's disgusting to me at this point. She clearly wants them to choose her over Todd and Lamar. She's on the pick-me side of the game. It's so obvious. I'm not throwing shade. I'm telling you facts. She never brings up the veto that Miesha won or the vote, though. Miesha basically told Cynthia and Carson that Todd threw Carson up without Cynthia so he wouldn't use the veto. This proves Miesha was part of that move, so she should be viewed as bad as Todd. But once again, Todrick being her ally allows Miesha to now skate by with no accountability from these two. So now Miesha gets the chance to make a target out of Todd during Carson's final days, not use veto, and doesn't have to vote to keep Carson, but still is trusted by Cynthia? See, when I add the context to this, it's unforgivable for her to go to the end with Miesha and Todrick, even if she can win going to the end with them. Why? Because she rich already. She don't need this money. Meaning she is selling her soul, and she is stripping herself of the same dignity she claimed Shayna didn't have that she did have just to win this game. So what is it? Are you only the one worthy of stripping your dignity but keeping it somehow because you said so? How does this work? This is the problem people have when they play this moral high ground card. Usually this would be used against black women by labeling them Mama Day, Mama Kaylin, and BB Can 7, Mama this, Mama that. It would always be used to hold black women to a certain standard, right? And you know Cynthia is very religious, and I'm not trying to take a shot at no one's religion. I'm just saying Cynthia is showing me all the signs of the old school stereotype of what black women were before the renaissance of great players we've had recently. And what I'm worried about is she is walking a lot of progress back among black women within the game, which is a little bit too convenient coming off Candy and Tamar's masterclass. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, be careful if you're willing to accept Cynthia and Todrick as a final 2 to see Todrick lose to her. Because I'm telling you, it's not going to be great for sisters long term. It's not. But let's continue. Cynthia and Carson would eventually try to make a deal with Miesha by throwing Todd under the bus, but Miesha never promised them a thing. Carson created the argument that he and Cynthia would have a harder time beating them than Lamar and Todd, but Miesha has no reason to listen to them because she has 2 Final 4 deals and Final 6. The best play every time for her is to not use veto, because if she uses it, she pisses off one side, helps the other. If she doesn't use it, she pisses off one side, helps the other. But at the end of the day, she'd rather piss off the side that's most threatening to her by sending Carson home. That way she don't got to deal with him being mad. And that should have been the gameplay Carson used by using Todrick as a pawn. But he refused to. He used Todd as one. So then Todd used Lamar as one to punk you in a not winning veto to save yourself. When Cynthia was safe regardless this week, any Big Brother fan knew that. But for whatever reason, Carson can't live in this house without Cynthia. It's like, bro, you're the only one who can really change this because you're proven you could change it before. But now it's like, no, I don't want to be here if Cynthia's not here. When, in my opinion, Cynthia being here and you not being here is why this final three is highly predictable. But let's continue. After this conversation, Carson clearly knows he is done because he said, let's not rock the boat. So we saw that during tonight's episode. So he was willing to bring the Titanic to a tragic disaster with Shanna. But now, because he got played, he would rather not rock the boat. Stuff like this just further justifies why Shanna deserves AFP. I mean, bruh, Carson, are you listening to Aaliyah in the HOH room? What you mean don't rock the boat? Man, you better shake that thing up. You feel what I'm saying? Now, Shayna had more fight in her versus 4 people last week, plus production, than Carson or Cynthia have this week together combined. Cynthia is so dumb to snitch on Lamar and Todd to Miesha before Miesha told her she had a Final Four with them. You do that stuff after you make the new deal, not beforehand. She gave up Todd's entire master plan for free, which is too convenient because, in my opinion, she did it on purpose, similar to how she snitched on KRESSLEY to Todrick on purpose to get him out. So, look, I'm going to give you credit because I gave you credit before. This counts as gameplay. But my problem is you're snitching on these straight black men to get closer to Miesha Tate, when you should be angry that Miesha Tate, who has been after Carson all season, got him out. But once again, this woman, because she's cutting weight and working out every day, you do not give her that same type of vitriol you gave Shayna. And this is disgusting to me. It really is. Now, granted, production probably already did too. I'm talking about give up Todd's master plan to Miesha and Todrick. But for someone like Cynthia to claim she wants protection so bad from people when she isn't even protecting those who protected her this week, only further shows how full of crap she is. Chris, Shayna, Todd, Lamar, Carson, and TEDDI. That's 6 players. All had their games ruined for being aligned to her. Think about that. Think about that. 6 players. That's more than half of the cast. And it's not as if Cynthia was aware of her faculties while costing all of them their games individually. She literally was doing it under the assumption she was helping all 6. That's what makes it worse. People are creating more parallels between her and Azah. Listen, Azah did a lot of things on purpose, though. Okay? Azah was at least aware of the game to an extent. Cynthia is not. I think it's disrespectful to Azah at this point to just say she's another Azah. Even Azah understood the game. Now I got to a point where Azah even knew who the worthy winner should be. And in that case, you can compare her to Azah, I guess, because it does feel like a lot of forces are just here to ensure a certain person wins towards the end. You know what? Damn, I just contradicted myself, but I'm more willing to listen to what y'all are saying now because I thought about it, and it does add up. I mean, I don't know. This makes everything get put into question, and I don't like that. Now, right before the veto ceremony, Lamar talks to Cynthia and lets her know if he wins HOH on Friday, he's taking the big shot at Todrick and Miesha. He says they are at the finish line, and it is too late to pull back now. Miesha was quick to run up in the pink room to interrupt them, though. Now, after the veto ceremony, noms stay the same because Miesha didn't use the veto. Around 11 a.m., Carson and Cynthia go into the storage room alone. This is when they started talking about Nutella and all that stuff. Carson really thinks Miesha not using the veto was best case scenario for both of them. This not only shows Carson still trusts Miesha and Todrick to keep him over Lamar, but it shows how dumb this duo really is for not realizing how much Shayna made them seem like good players next to her. I'm just saying. Sometimes Krillin and Yajirobe look like world-class fighters next to Goku. I'm just saying, sometimes they did. But as long as they played their roles, they would be efficient. But the minute Yajirobe and Krillin tried to take on the Ginyu Force, Vegeta, well, maybe 8 Vegeta. But you get my point. At the end of the day, role players got to know their role, and they can't step outside of their boundaries. I feel like Cynthia tried to step into the mastermind boundary, and that has led to a whole multiverse of madness where everyone else is being sent to the shadow realm around her because she decided to step into that new barrier. All she had to do was stay where she was, know her level, know her ceiling, and I think Carson is still in this game because she allows him to conduct his HOH week like he earned the right to do. But she decided to take the reins, so here we are. Now, in what world is Miesha not keeping her word to protect you a good thing? Especially when y'all just bullied Shanna for not keeping hers. Why is Miesha more beloved for not saving Carson than Shanna was for saving him? This does not make sense, coach. And it really exposes the personal problem Cynthia had with Shanna. It really does. Both claim they were worried Miesha would have saved Lamar and got Cynthia thrown up. But if Todd wants to work with Cynthia, and if Carson knows Todd wanted veto not to be used, then Carson also knows Miesha would have gone rogue against Todd to take Lamar off, which then suggests Todd would respond by backdooring Todrick next to Carson over Cynthia. The fact that these two assume Todd would still put Cynthia up, despite all of this context suggesting Todd and Lamar want to flip now, just further shows me how outmatched Cynthia and Carson are at this stage of the game. They are so scared to go against the Apex production pets and production that they call bad things for their games good, and vice versa. Cynthia and Carson refer to Miesha as being very trustworthy for not using the veto. I can't make this up. So now Miesha has managed to earn more trust with them through inaction than anyone could with action, just because these two can't admit they were wrong about Shanna. Pride comes before the fall. Carson just wants a talk between himself, Cynthia, and Todrick before Friday to make sure he stays, which we did see during tonight's episode, but I failed to find on feeds, so maybe feeds were down when they finally brought Todrick around to have that talk. So understand, and during tonight's episode, we saw what they pitched him. And I thought it was a unique pitch. Let's talk about this for a second. Carson, and you could tell this was Carson's idea. Cynthia, I'm not giving you no credit for this. This felt like a Carson idea. It was too slick. He said, hey, Todrick, remember how we had this understanding on day one? Well, all right, then. I'm pretty sure you didn't have the same understanding with Lamar, right? Well, all right. Me and Cynthia, we've always told you we wanted you to win. Well, how about this? You vote to keep me this week, and you can guarantee me and Cynthia's jury votes. How about that? Now, as someone who knows how down bad Todrick currently is, because everyone knows he ain't, I thought that was fantastic gameplay. Why not show a little bit of fangs on your way out? All right? Show a little bit. Don't go completely Count Dracula, but sometimes you gotta sometimes you gotta go devil may cry on somebody. Listen, I gotta keep it a bean. And in my opinion, Carson showed subtle signs of being very similar to Dante, borderline Virgil, with this suggestion, because it was thought-provoking and it made Todrick at least approach Miesha. Now, in my opinion, all of this was made for TV. Todrick and Miesha was never going to keep Carson. This was all done to keep people watching for a second hour, so it wasn't a foregone conclusion. Production knew there wasn't another HOH combo tonight's episode. They needed an excuse to hold us, and they knew the Jerry O cameo of it all would make some of us tune out. So understand, it was all done to keep the viewer retention rate up. But with that said, I still think that was a unique pitch by Carson. I kind of wish we would have been able to see Carson play without Cynthia, because we probably would have saw more of that type of gameplay, more of the Ross Matthews type of psychoanalysis. The problem is, and see, the way I know Carson knows Cynthia's what ruined his game is because he's asking Julie if he could play Celebrity All-Stars. He knows Cynthia ain't making All-Stars. Come on, dog. The proof is in the pudding. You got to read between the lines, coach. You got to read between the lines. He's like, Julie, can I please play this game again without the ankle weights around my legs known as Cynthia? Please. I love her, though. You know, you know what I'm saying? I mean, look, we all got that one friend who we go to the club with, he ain't got no mouthpiece. He's still our homie. But on certain nights, we know we can't bring him. You feel me, fellas? Ladies, y'all probably got a friend like that, too. You don't want to admit it, but she ain't really on the rest of y'all level. So y'all leave her at home when it's time to go out. Because she can't really, you know what I'm saying, hold her weight like that. No disrespect. I kind of feel like that's Carson right now. He's like, Julie, please, can I have the opportunity to showcase I'm not no terrible player? Because right now I look like one of the worst players ever because of her. And that ain't cool. You know, I felt bad for Carson there because you could see it in his eyes. You can see it in the eyes. What's that, Lionel Richie or something like that? You can see it in his eyes, coach. You can see it. I'm just saying. Carson mentions to Cynthia around 5 p.m. that he can't tell what side Lamar is on. Cynthia seems to be hopeful Lamar is waking up to this game, but I expect her to cling to whoever wins power on Friday. Watch what happens now. Y'all gonna be like, man, this dude is Negro dumbest. Anyway, if Miesha or Todrick wins, she bashes straight black men. If a straight black man wins HOH, she turns into Hotep CB. 50 Cent again. I can call it from a mile away. It's what's gonna happen. Just be emotionally prepared, y'all. Then Carson finally mentions what I've been waiting for, Todrick's lack of contribution in helping him throughout this season. He says this gentleman's agreement with Todrick should be coming in handy this week, telling me Todrick still hasn't met them in the pink room. But now we know this was after he met with Todrick, but it wasn't on feeds. Cynthia then says if there was ever a time to have their backs, the time is now for Todrick. But she won't keep this same energy on Friday night when Carson gets voted out 2-1. And did she? Nope. Instead, she's too busy hugging Miesha. Your family is beautiful, Miesha. Take me to Final 3, please. So you ain't even mad that she didn't use veto and didn't vote to keep him after that deal that was supposed to guarantee y'all made Final 4 together? Well, Final 5 together? Come on, man. Come on, man. Now, it's one thing to keep your game tight, but even if Cynthia were to blown up, they still ain't taking you out anytime soon because you're not a threat to them. Well, at least to Miesha. Those two straight black men are before you because Todd won a comp. Even if it was a taste testing, oh, it tastes like ginger, chocolate. He wins a comp like that, all of a sudden he's a threat to win the whole thing? Oh, man, he's so clever. He's won one comp, and it was easily one of the most random comps I've ever seen. You know? But that's neither here nor there. Now, Cynthia was quick to change the subject after that because she forbids any rhetoric holding her adopted son Toddler accountable. Pay attention here. Conversation got very awkward and silent after that. I can tell Carson is secretly pissed at a lot of stuff, but he can't afford to admit it on feeds. They are crossing their fingers, hoping Carson survives the vote next to Lamar so they can renegotiate with Miesha. Not target Miesha if they make Final 5. Renegotiate. So understand, if Miesha and Todrick would have voted to keep Carson, they were still going to be loyal to them and target Todd. They're in the dark. They're in the dark. So in other words, it don't even matter. It don't even matter. Y'all have made up your minds that you're handing the game to Todrick and Miesha. So now every fan, this is so funny. Coming out of BB23, the straight black man was public enemy number 1 for this, that, and the third. The role reversal that has happened, where now all of the world is relying on 2 straight black men to save the world. I love it. I love the karma here. Now everyone sees the value of us because they ain't got no choice because everyone else is worse. But hey, listen, you got to chuckle a little bit, man, because Todrick is out here burying his entire reputation every day. Okay, every day. Cynthia, people can't take her seriously. Miesha, bullying tactics. And I'm going to get into a little bit later how now that the sight is set on Todd and Lamar, oh, she's going out of her way to try to start fights with Todd over little dumb stuff. We saw during the veto comp tonight, she tried to start a fight with Lamar because he was talking. So we see what it is, man. We see what it is. But I'm going to get there. Just wait on it. All they want to do is sit with the cool kids. Even after Miesha didn't use veto, they want to work with her. This proves Carson would rather take out Todd than Miesha in Final 5 if he stayed. I would rather Lamar be in the game then than him. Carson talking like he is high off smelling salts in these streets. Then Cynthia creates the argument if Carson survives the block and they make it to Final 2, it would be known as the greatest comeback in Big Brother history. Hey, man, listen, I understand that Cynthia is a lady, but it still stands. Y'all need to come get your sister.
My bad, little homie.
Y'all need to come get her. What is she talking about, B?
All right.
At a certain point, she got to be trolling, too. You know, so now y'all the greatest duo in BB history if y'all survive this week, even though y'all plan to still go to the end with Miesha and Todrick? No, If Miesha and Todrick ain't even the greatest duo ever, how would you would be for just kissing their butt? That doesn't add up. Uh, not only that, she's also said earlier this week on feeds, she's also said she's gonna be the veto queen. She's also said stuff like, no one has ever played how her and Carson have played this game before. They've made history. It's like, what? Only for her to finally on Friday morning admit where she went wrong is pretty funny, but we'll get there as well. Don't worry, y'all. We got a lot to discuss, even though there ain't much going on in them feeds. Okay, I'm really making these feeds sound a lot more entertaining than they really are, but y'all know me. I know how to break down the subtle nuances, so let's continue. So yes. So Cynthia creates the argument if Carson survives the block and they make final two, it will be known as the greatest comeback in BB history. Carson says it would be miraculous. But why would it be a miracle if Miesha is so trustworthy? Them even admitting this shows me they know they messed up because there is no possible comeback for those who think they have made no mistakes. You get that? If there is no deficit because you've always had your integrity and dignity, then what comeback is there to be had? Aren't you still in the lead? This will let me know production was tipping them off, because this was the beginning of them even admitting that they had something to come back from, right? Because even at the beginning of the week, they didn't really think it was that doom and gloom just yet. I mean, they were worried about Todd as HOH, but, when Cynthia avoided the block, though, they celebrated that like they won the Super Bowl. Now, the fact that they're even discussing this tells me they both know they sold out. Around 6 p.m., Todd got into an argument with Miesha about Todrick talking too much. Now, here's the drama here. Here's where I started to notice how Miesha is going to play this, how she's going to justify targeting these straight black men who've been loyal to all game, loyal soldiers before Cynthia. She's going to justify it all, but making it seem like, oh, these straight black men, they're phobic and they're sexist and they're so mean towards Todrick and they're insensitive. And watch how I craft this. You'll see what I'm saying. This is important because I believe Miesha blew this entire thing out of proportion on purpose to justify turning on Todd in Final Five. She claims Todd and Lamar talk as much as Todrick. Anyone who watches feeds know that Todrick talks close to 10 times more than anyone else. At least, about 10 times. But this goes back to why I was mad at Cynthia for telling Miesha so much about Todd before finding out Carson and her aren't even getting a Final Four deal. You could create the argument Cynthia hurt Todd's game just like she hurt KIRKPATRICK's game by being a rat. Todd kept her off the block, and she repaid him this week by bashing him for it. This is the same woman who told Shanna she never touched the block last week, so she didn't know what it felt like to be on it, but now she is off the block and betraying a black man for being on code and leaving her off of it. And this counts as another stumble of a move she accidentally made that benefited her game because she gets dragged to the end no matter what. Todd realizes Miesha is trying to make it seem like him and Lamar are equal threats to her, and Todrick by implying they talk to each other just as often, but that isn't true. Miesha and Todrick talk so much, fans stop watching any cam they are on now. They talk so much, they started to show that damage control their bad jury management. They talk so much, and the pink room is so bad at this game, it forces fans who watch feeds to basically only watch Lamar and Todd when we tune in. Mainly because they're the least tolerable and have the best sense of humor out of anyone left. This was a clear case of gaslighting here. And Miesha waited until after the veto ceremony to do this to Todd because she wants to get Cynthia all defensive and protective over Todrick before Final Five to manipulate her into never working with the straight black men. Pay attention. I'm on my job tonight. I see what the tactic is. Let's create the narrative that Todrick, one of the biggest bullies and biggest cowards and biggest dish you behind your back but never to your face guys of all time. Let's create the argument that Todd and Lamar are the actual problematic people. Let's create the argument Todd and Lamar are the people who judge people based off how they dress. Let's project all of our flaws on Todd and Lamar to justify why we're taking them out, hoping production has our back and brings up flashbacks only with those black men that cover for us, so the casuals will bash black men again and take it back to BB23. You have to pay attention to the tactics that are used here. Because from my perspective and from a lot of superfans' perspective, is very rich for Todrick to play this victim about them criticizing the clothes he wears. First off, this man is trying to force his clothes on these straight black men. So they have a right to clown you for it because you won't let that just be your world and your stuff. You try to force it on them. Then you ask them to wear their clothes, which tells them what? You value their clothes more than your own, but that's neither here nor there. So for Todrick to be the one who criticized Shayna MOAKLER's clothing, her attire, he tried to take shots at her character based off what she wears, but then if a straight black man does the same thing towards you, he's wrong? Do you see the double standard even more so? This is the problem fans have with Todrick. He's a two-way mirror and a one-way street. That's what he is. That's what he is. And you could hashtag that one. That's a good line. Oh, that was a great line. So what you got to understand is they're portraying Todd and Lamar in a certain light, knowing it will virtue signal to Cynthia's helicopter parent mode activating. Okay? You got to understand what's going on. It's like the TV show Raised by Wolves. She won't let her kid go within 5 feet away from her, or else it's going to be smoke. And Todrick is the toddler here in this equation, right? It's basically the same thing. You know, it is what it is. So Miesha now gets the dynamic. She sees how protective Cynthia is of Todrick. That's why she isn't threatened by her, because she knows they're on the same wavelength with Todrick, at least this week. That makes Cynthia by proxy on their side automatically. So by picking a fight with Todd and Lamar and not making it strategic, making it, well, you guys say a lot of stuff about Todrick, and right now, conveniently, after Carson leaves, is now when I want to address it, when I no longer need you all to help me get him out. So these same things they were doing weeks ago was never a problem then when you wanted Shayna gone, when you wanted Carson gone, when you wanted Chris gone. But now, as soon as all of them are gone, you're trying to project everything you've done towards others on these two black men, and you think the fans are going to fall for it. Smash that like button tonight, coach. Smash that like button. Listen. I'm not going to let these people dance circles around us with semantics gymnastics. I got a gold medal in that competition. You feel the dig me? I got a gold, baby. Shout outs to MARAI NAGASU. All right? Now, don't get it twisted. This is good gameplay technically by Miesha, but it is dirty as well, and it's sad how easy this will work because production picked a cast of yes men and yes women. So I expect Cynthia on the next episode to be like, now that Carson's gone, I really don't see a way to the end if it's not listening to Todrick. I'm willing to bet you that's the type of narrative she builds towards. I bet you that's the type of narrative. Either that or she's going to put it on Carson, giving her the okay to work with them, and she's going to use that to try to justify it, to kind of put it on Carson. Oh, Carson's why I'm with Miesha and Todrick. Not because I actually want it to be, because Todrick can do no wrong. I have a feeling she's going to try to put it on others because we've already seen her attempt to put her mistakes of sending Shayna out on Todd and Lamar as well, which once again coincides with Miesha looking and nitpicking for reasons to make a target out of Todd and Lamar too. When you really break it down, Miesha is using Karen tactics, and Cynthia is partaking in the Karen tactics too, just because she don't want to go in Final Five. It's anyone but me. And for a woman who claims you can leave, I'll leave, you stay. But now she's throwing every straight black man she can under the bus to appease Miesha Tate? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You just said you was willing to leave. Now that Carson's gone, you have this new motivation again? The same motivation that escaped when Shayna left, because you just wanted to leave. Now, because Carson's gone, you have new motivation to outlast the straight black men. Everything about this is problematic. But you got to see it. If you don't see it, that's on y'all. But I'm not going to overly stress it. I just got to hope y'all notice it. All Miesha had to do was imply Todrick was being bullied based on talking too much. Then she created the argument Todd and Lamar assume Todrick talks too much because it's what women do. So they're creating an argument Todrick is somehow a woman. Okay. Further exposing to me, she was dog whistling to Cynthia and trying to placate to her virtue signals. And since I've already revealed how Todrick painted Todd and Lamar in a sexist light on Wednesday, this is clearly Miesha implementing the BB23 strategy of labeling every straight black man anti-woman to justify turning on them. The irony in this is that Miesha just got done bullying a woman last week for being strong and unapologetic about it. The irony is Cynthia led the charge on that. But now Miesha is making Todrick seem like more of a victim than Shanna ever was by acting like the other black men are bullying him to appeal to Cynthia. If this doesn't tell you these people know what they are doing, nothing else will. I'm not trying to hear from them, we weren't aware of what we... Yes, you are, because the gameplay you're implementing shows me you're aware by how you are dancing too perfectly around certain things and trying to project what we are saying about you. How would you know we are saying these things about you now on Todd and Lamar? The fact that that's your go-to move shows me a lot. But once again, let's continue. If this doesn't tell you these people know what they are doing, nothing else will. No excuse outside of this game will hold weight for me because these folks are part-time woke only when it's convenient. Miesha will act like these brothers are bullying Todrick, but she won't vote Lamar out over Carson, though. Does Cynthia pay attention to any of this? Nope. So all of this is nonsensical for starters. She bullies others, but then acts like Todrick, the most vile and petulant punk I've seen on Big Brother in a long time, should be pampered like a newborn baby. And I can tell Todd is regretting his decision a lot now, because Miesha is telling him to his face she is after him and Lamar before Cynthia. 15 minutes later after eating, Todd runs upstairs to Lamar, wakes him up, and now he's pissed. He's so damn emotional, he wants to blow it all up during the vote on Friday night thinking he has a vote, but he's the HOH. I'm shocked this didn't make it on tonight's episode. I'm willing to bet it's going to probably make it on the next episode, no matter who's the HOH, because it's an easy, well, yeah, no matter what, whoever's the next HOH is going to make it on the next episode, because if Cynthia's HOH and she doesn't target Miesha and Todrick, that fight is going to be provided. If Miesha and Todrick are HOH, that's going to be provided to explain why Todd is the target. If Lamar wins, that fight is going to be used to justify why Lamar is after Miesha and Todrick. So no matter what, I think that fight's going to be on Sunday's episode. Yeah, I think it's going to be. So yes, so Todd wants to blow everything up, but this is why I said he should have taken that shot this week, not wait on next week. Because now he is done if he doesn't win the veto, just like Carson was this week, and Shanna was the week before that. Todd was so angry, he forgot the numbers and thought they could force a tie vote when there's 3 votes. And even then, with Lamar on the block, because Todd refused to throw up Todrick, Todd can't even say nothing until after Carson leaves. All of this just puts more pressure on Lamar to win HOH, but I'm hoping Todd can motivate him to win it. Around 8 p.m., Cynthia tells Carson that Lamar would be willing to fall on his sword for him, but she doesn't know. Very bizarre conversation there. Makes me wonder what conversation Lamar had with her, but, you know, I'm not on these feeds all the time. Listen, unless I'm trying to take a nap, I can't watch feeds all day. Todd then walks in as a reborn game player, ready to talk brass tacks. He first tells them it sucks Carson won't stay because of the vote being 2-1. So now you have 3 players all regretting their decisions of the last week, all bonding based off of it. I mean, even Lamar approached Cynthia and said, hey, you need to stop doing Todrick's makeup. I want him out of his element during the HOH comp tonight. I was rolling. See, Lamar, that's the type of stuff I want to see, because I think there's some truth to that. I think if you're putting on this guy's makeup, he knows you're with him. At a certain point, you got to draw the line in the sand and let Todrick know, listen, are you on the black folk side or are you still on Miesha's side? What's up? Make him feel a certain type of way. Carson already made him feel a certain type of way about that vote, made him feel like that the jury votes were on the line if he didn't throw him a vote. So now y'all need to start applying more pressure like that, man. Because what I find is a lot of people who play like Todrick plays, the minute things do not go their way, they will be rattled beyond belief and they will spiral out of control and be donezo. Problem is, production has never allowed a scenario for Todrick to ever be on the block at all. So this gives credence to him being a great player because he's never touched the block. But at the end of the day, if you understand what happened before this season, during this season, and how production has influenced this season, you know that Todrick is more of a paper champion than a real undisputed champion. He's not a real lineal champion, okay? And see, what people don't understand is being a deserving champion is as much about who you had to beat to win than winning itself. If you had no real competition the entire season, who cares about the belt you have around your waist? Who did you beat for it? What were the stakes? What difficulty level did you play on? How many people in your position with the same help would not be able to do the same exact things? I think a lot of people in Todrick's position on a season like this that was catered to his needs would do just as well, if not better than him. So I cannot overrate him for any of that. I have to call it down the middle. I got to admit he's good, but how good is he really when a lot of people are so terrible? Todd asks Carson and Cynthia if he can beat Miesha or Todrick. Carson says they both have burned a lot of bridges. But notice how Cynthia said nothing here. This exposes 100% that Cynthia does not give Todd any information he can run back to the other duo, but she runs back tons of information about him to that same duo. How is Todd supposed to ever trust you, Cynthia, when you don't ever give him nothing? But then you want to tell him a whole bunch of obvious stuff like, the one chance we had was last week because Carson had the balls to get Miesha out. Says the woman who cut his balls off that week. Like, what are you talking about, bro? Listen. She went, my bad on that drum roll. She went Texas Chain Massacre on Buddy's testes. Are you serious? Come on, Cynthia. You deballed the man. Now you want to say he the only one with the balls to do it? Shayna got ovaries, and she had the ovaries to do it, too. Craziness. This exposes that Carson is a lot smarter than he led on, but he's dumbing himself down to Cynthia's game level. Because when it's time to talk game with real players, Carson talks completely different at a different pace with different focus about Miesha and Todrick. Granted, he needed to wake up and realize Todrick isn't voting to keep him before saying this, but late is better than never. Cynthia still doesn't see Todrick as in shit, though. Carson then agrees Todd talks a lot less than Todrick before admitting she tried to start a fight at dinner. So this is Carson admitting that Miesha was looking for a fight with Todd, which was basically him telling Todd, you know you're the next target. And Cynthia basically told Todd and Lamar, Carson's leaving because he was the only HOH willing to throw Miesha up all season. So she was basically telling you, Todd, because you're the only other HOH besides Miesha this season left in the game, you're the next target too, bruh. But once again, this is pretty much the most she's willing to share with Todd. Then she makes it seem like, oh, I gave him so much help because I was being very vague with what I was saying. So yes, Carson then agrees Todd talks a lot less. This is exactly what I saw too, but Cynthia refusing to bash Miesha here shows she took Miesha's side. Carson says Miesha is in love with Todrick. Then Cynthia chooses to focus on how Todd was never going to be in Final 3 with Todrick and Miesha to somehow shame him for being a loyal soldier the entire time. Well, Cynthia, you were supposed to be a loyal soldier to TEDDI and Carson, and you sure failed them, so listen. Please jump off the soapbox you were on trying to teach Todd about this game. Didn't you say he was the Phoenix who rose? How you gonna call him the Phoenix and then shit on him later on acting like he ain't Jean Grey? How does that work? And if he's Jean Grey, what does that make you? Jubilee? Because all I see is a whole bunch of fireworks and stuff, but I don't really see no damage being done. You feel me? I see a lot of distractions, but I don't really see no real gameplay. I don't really see no real threat there. You know, when you get in the danger room, you need an escort, Cynthia. At least when Todd goes in the danger room, he can take some sentinels out. I'm just saying what it is. If you know, you know. But let's continue. Listen, it ain't an RBR rant without some good analogies here. So yes. So Cynthia is over here clowning Todd for this Final 3 he thought was real. How all that loyal soldier talk was dumb and whatnot. She's only saying that now because she knows she took his spot by being the worst player left. Facts. Huh? It's like, listen, I'm worse than you, so you're stupid for thinking you can make the in with them. Okay, that's what's up. She claims she been knew Todrick was Miesha's #1 from the start as a way to show Todd she knows more than him, but she did nothing with that information all game but help Miesha and Todrick after finding that out. So she has no ground to stand on here because she didn't use the information to ever get Miesha out. Feels like she is their chaperone for prom night, the way she just wants to escort them to the inn. You feel it, dig me? Like, I'm going to keep it a bean, Cynthia. It feels like you are the chaperone on the Wonder Twins prom night. You're over here, listen, you're whipping the limo around, you're taking all the pictures, you're uploading to Instagram. You're part of their PR team at this point, coach. I got to be honest. She will let other people know where they went wrong during their games, but she acts like a Men in Black laser makes her incapable of owning her own mistakes. How convenient. Cynthia keeps trying to make this stuff about her by saying she will touch the block, but she has been enough of a rat to avoid the block the whole week because, once again, no one fears her winning the veto. And no one will fear her winning next week's veto, which is why Todd and Lamar will touch the block next week if Miesha or Todd win HOH. And if Todrick is smart, he throws the HOH to Miesha 1,000%, because that at least opens up the opportunity for Todrick to be Final Four HOH, so maybe, just maybe, the black folks could win veto and get Miesha from making Final Three. That's a possibility. In my opinion, Todrick has no reason to ever win Final 5 HOH. You win Final 4 HOH if you can every time. Cynthia keeps trying to make this stuff about her by saying she will touch the block, but she has been enough of a rat to avoid the block. Cynthia only touches the block next week if Todd wins veto. And because production is only having Cynthia do a goodbye message for Carson, everyone already knows what's up. So she never had to do a goodbye message for Lamar. That's what I meant. But is Cynthia connecting the dots on Todrick being more of a liar to her and Carson than Shanna was? Nope, because he isn't a white woman. Is she even mad at Miesha? Nope, because that white woman created a narrative that Todrick is being bullied for just speaking. So the woman who said she didn't want Carson leaving without a fight now has no fight in her because she sees she has an easy ticket to the end. While the rest of the house is in the pink room, Todrick and Miesha talk game in the backyard. This was more jury management damage control, sponsored by Grodner. He now is focused on putting respect on TEDDI and Shayna's names all of a sudden because he knows his comments about blonde-haired women has him in hot water. During this chat, Todrick is going out of his way to undermine Miesha's game by implying he was the one who made her game possible from the TEDDI back door. Miesha is once again participating in a segment on feeds that is allowing Todrick to craft a narrative that could help him beat her in Final Two, and I just don't get it. Is everyone trying to just hand the game to him? Like, what gives? And if this wasn't bad enough, Miesha admitted that Cynthia forced Carson's hand with targeting Shayna, which also proves Cynthia made that week about her and she was the real HOH. I called it first. Miesha even said she thinks Cynthia would have been heartbroken if Carson didn't take Shayna out. What? All this told me is that everyone in that house knows Cynthia's disdain for Shayna is something serious. How would you be heartbroken if Carson took out the woman who's been after him all game? Why would she be heartbroken over him doing that? It's his HOH. You made your HOH about you and not me? My heart is broken over that. What? And the fact that Miesha and Todrick are getting this off on feeds tells me production told them it's okay to clown Cynthia because everyone is anyway. Now y'all see why I was so worried. Now y'all see why I told them this was an L. Miesha hasn't been around Cynthia at all this entire game, but now she knows what will break her heart and what won't. Now she knows every facet of what made Cynthia tick and her friendship with Carson off of one weekend of bad gameplay. Y'all created this timeline, man. Miesha knows Carson knew better, but Cynthia forced him to make a monumentally bad move. So now it's clear to me production told Miesha and Todrick that the public is clowning Cynthia for being a bad player because now they are finally admitting she is bad on feeds, but only after it was acceptable to do so. Proving production is playing a role here in a lot of this. Miesha even said Cynthia not getting the game was great for them. Todrick clowns them for taking out Shayna before Miesha. He even shades them more by saying using the veto on Todd would have never worked any other season. The guy is telling us to our faces the season is rigged. And production clearly let them know how the public feels about Cynthia so they won't regret dragging Cynthia to Final 3 because they know she doesn't deserve the win. Todrick then clowns Cynthia and Carson, being 50-year-olds who care more about dignity than gameplay, and Miesha laughs about it. Woo, I was cringing watching this on feeds because I knew Shayna was better for their games. To see these two just clown these two after the fact. Woo. He says it sucks because he wanted to work with Shayna, but it was a blessing. Seeing these two clown Cynthia and Carson for choking while pandering to TEDDI and Shayna simultaneously for jury votes has me wanting to throw up. Todrick, no matter what, Todrick knows no matter what, Carson is forced to support him, so he exploits that. He knows Cynthia's loyalty is unconditional, so he can afford to exploit that as well. Meanwhile, every other player on this cast didn't have anywhere near the same privilege to pivot or exploit and have the same peace of mind of knowing no matter what, they will be forgiven for it. This empowered Todrick to be courageous because he had nothing to ever fear all game. How can I act like this guy is one of the best of all time when the league front office stacks his team, his opponents sag off on defense, and his teammates only want him to score? I'm supposed to ignore all of this? I'm supposed to, no, man, he's the GOAT. Look at this. What? Ain't nobody playing no defense. Todrick is the definition of a big brother stat pattern. The eye test shows you he isn't as good as most of the legends of Big Brother's past, but he is being portrayed as he is on their level, but the stats will make anyone seem legendary because of the blatant rigging. And with this new era of Big Brother being heavily reliant on identity politics more than merit or fairness, Todrick is the right guy at the right time to have a season catered for him. I give him credit for playing the schedule, but every bowl team doesn't make the college football playoffs for a reason. If your schedule was weak, we can't say you are strong. All we can say is that you were stronger than the more weaker teams. That's all we can say. Now, as for Friday's feeds earlier today around 11:35 a.m., this is when Cynthia, I was dumbfounded. Number one, I was shocked it took her this long to figure it out, but we'll break it down. Around 11:35 a.m., and we'll get into questions in a second, Cynthia finally sees the light Friday morning, but only because she sees she looks stupid. First, she tells Cam they only had one chance to get Miesha out, and it was Carson's HOH. She even said only Carson had the balls to put her on the block, but nobody wanted to ride with them on it. What is she talking about? She didn't want Miesha gone at all. She took her side against Shayna because she was jealous of Shayna. Shayna was riding, but Cynthia didn't want her to ride. So for me to hear her say Carson was the only one with balls to nominate Miesha is also dumb because Shayna would have done it too. Lamar was riding last week, but Cynthia questioned him too. The truth is, Cynthia is trying to share the blame with everyone else because she doesn't want to own her mistake herself. For her to imply everyone else let her down by not supporting her and getting rid of Miesha is disrespectful. Everyone in that house supported you getting rid of Shayna, but Shayna. What are you talking about? We didn't have any support that week. All people did was support you that week. You were HOH. Like, bro, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? If anything, everyone else can say she abandoned them to protect her adopted son, Toddler. And why is she saying we blew the only chance we had of getting Miesha out? We didn't blow anything, coach. You did. Oh, we getting her tonight. We getting her tonight. What is she talking about, bro? Like no, that was all on you, coach. Listen, if your ankles get crossed, that was your man. That ain't on the center in the paint. But that's Cynthia. She get embarrassed. She look around like, bro, hey, man, listen, I ain't J.R. Smith now. You ain't finna just blame me for everything. But then when Shayna makes a mistake, it was all on Shayna, though. Notice how this is the only moment Cynthia doesn't want to be all about her, because this is all on her. She says in hindsight, that was the move. Lamar was saying that last week, but she ignored him. Up until now, Cynthia has been acting like it was one of the best moves ever to take Shayna out. She even had the audacity to say her and Carson were a historic duo after it. So what changed? It can't be Todd's conversation. I think what changed is her finally realizing she failed Carson more than Shayna ever could. Cynthia thinks because the black folks weren't together, they didn't get Miesha out, but it was simply because Cynthia and Carson refused to nominate Todrick next to Miesha. Carson put up Todd over Todrick because Cynthia wanted that. This ain't on anybody but her. And honestly, the fact that she wants to share this blame isn't good because it tells me she isn't focused on winning HOH. She is focused on changing the narrative of her abysmal game. This is narcissistic behavior by definition. Then when Carson comes in, Cynthia admits it took Carson the night before to convince her to see this. So she couldn't even come to this conclusion on her own because she hated Shayna so much. Peep game. She needed Carson to convince her she ruined his game, but the only way she would play along is if he gave her the authorization to blame Lamar and Todd for it too. None of what happened to Shayna will ever be on Todd and Lamar because they didn't bully that woman. and that's why she hugged them both on her way out. Carson and Cynthia are cowards for holding Todd and Lamar more accountable for what happened to Shanna than Todrick. This should be all the proof y'all need that Cynthia isn't going to have Todd or Lamar's backs, because she is blaming straight black men for her mistakes, just like Tiffany Mitchell did. Now we know production has told both duos involved in the bullying of Shanna about the public, because even Cynthia is acting like she regrets the move all of a sudden. Welcome to Rig Brother. Now let's get into answering y'all questions. I hope y'all have enjoyed that, because I needed to close the book on Carson's game correctly, and I needed the right things to be said. A man with a lot of potential who I believe was set up to fail by having a teammate who couldn't do her end of the bargain. And because of that, and because of a post-BLM society we are currently in, he can't be seen as the one who doesn't protect the black woman at all times. So for that reason, he allowed the black woman who doesn't understand the game to run his HOH, even though it never made any sense for him to allow that. So here we are. Here's the timeline we are currently in. Post-Cynthia using a Shinra Tensei forbidden jitsu on the entire civilization, we have to deal with the remnants of what is left. And I feel like everything is dilapidated, broken down. Fans, look, more fans are excited about BB-Can 10 right now than they'll ever be excited for the rest of this season now. And I hope you all are binging on Paramount Plus, by the way. Please do not forget to smash that like button for the kid. I'm on my way to the Bat Cave. I would love to hear your thoughts. And hopefully a new HOH has been crowned on these live feeds while I've been going in. Let's see if a new HOH has been crowned. Nope, no HOH has been crowned yet. Okay. All right, I'm on my way to start answering y'all questions. I appreciate all of y'all who have been here tonight. But yeah, for the most part, what y'all got to understand is Miesha and Todrick, they are desperate to create a narrative to explain why they are turning on Todd and Lamar before Cynthia. They know from a game perspective, Todd getting out Carson gives him now a case to win that other people don't have. You got to remember, Miesha has gotten out KRESSLEY and TEDDI. From her perspective, Todd is the only one capable of beating her. That's why I think she's going to win Final 5 HOHs to get Todd out, because that's the only one she really fears head-to-head. I think it's just that simple. It's that self-explanatory. Oh, no, X don't want nothing to do with these folks. I'm going to keep it a being with you. He don't need to be around these folks. What you got to understand, all of the people that are thirsty to be around these folks, I'm talking about Todrick and them, are all the folks who didn't get that Final 3 money. I'm just saying what it is. And Tiff got money, so she ain't got to be around them, but it is what it is. See, the rest of them don't have to be around you because they got options. That's just what it is. But yeah, I definitely hope y'all vote for Shanna. Please do not forget. Hold on, let me reiterate this one more time, because I said that early in the rant. Please do not forget to text Shanna MOAKLER to 21523 for America's favorite player, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, they really went in on Shanna, man. They went crazy in on her. And for these people to wait until Friday morning to finally admit they did Shanna dirty, and that was the only chance, and then for Cynthia to try to bring Lamar and Todd in on it and say, it's your fault while we didn't have the confidence. Man, all y'all had to do was throw up Todrick. And y'all could have used the same scare tactics on Miesha that y'all used this week on Carson, right? Carson, don't win the veto and use it, because Cynthia will go home. All you had to do is throw up Todrick next to Miesha and be like, hey, Miesha, we going to tell it to you straight like this. You win that veto on Monday night, Todrick is in the shadow realm. Now, how badly do you care about this kid? See, that's what you should have approached her with. That's something she can respect, right? Because that's you giving her the energy she gives to others. But if people are too scared to even give that energy back, all people want to do is half-step. I want to nominate my target plus a pawn. Skip all that half-stepping. Nominate the target next to their closest ally and play the game old school, and stop doing all this extra stuff, man. Y'all getting way too cute with this game. And I feel like production influences all of this cuteness, because it doesn't make any sense to throw up Todd when you have a clear duo right there. And if you split that duo up, Todd is not as loyal to that duo. Matter of fact, Todd was really more loyal to Miesha than Todrick. And now that we know how much Todd and Lamar was clowning Todrick on feeds, enough to make Miesha blow it out of proportion, Todd and Lamar were never going to go to Final 3 with Todrick over Cynthia. So at the end of the day, Cynthia did not have to choose a side before Final Five. She could have been Switzerland. Ain't she supposed to be part of the Swisters? She could have stayed being Switzerland, but she's already chosen her side. And don't believe any other story because it's the truth. She's already chosen Miesha and Todrick's side. Because in her mind, she probably thinks, well, Todd isn't as hated as Todrick. I might not be able to beat him, especially since he got out Carson. Plus, she don't want to reward Todd after that fight, and he got out Carson, which goes back to what I said in the last rant too. Why would she want to go to the end with you when you just took out her untouchable? But she'll go to the end with the people who voted out her untouchable. This is why I tried to warn people, man. The way straight black men are judged on games like this are so unfair, and I think people are starting to finally see it because they're starting to see white folks get mistreated and straight black men get mistreated during the same season, and they're starting to see a common denominator of certain archetypes that never get mistreated and get handled with kid gloves by everybody. So this should tell us who really is responsible for ruining this show the way we liked it. I'm just saying, the proof's in the pudding. You got to see it for yourself. Carson is an all-star personality. I'm sure the producers feed him with information just like they told Todrick and Miesha. That was a double elimination stone. I think they definitely... Nanye, you want Carson to win AFP? Come on, man. You selling there, Nanye. No, you're selling. Why would we reward Carson with AFP for? He choked. Are we rewarding him for allowing Cynthia to be an HOH, like have an HOH to herself? Like, let's be real here. He has done nothing to deserve that. If we're saying he deserves it because he was a victim of gameplay, well, Shayna's the bigger victim because she's a victim of him, and then he was a victim of his own decisions. No one deserves AFP for being a victim of their own decisions. This is why I didn't think Tiffany really deserved AFP, because she was selfish and played herself into taking out Claire. But then people use that as an excuse for why she was more sympathetic than everyone else, and then it came into bashing straight black men to justify why we had to reward the black woman. And I have a feeling the same thing is happening now. Straight black men are being bashed, and slowly but surely you're going to see people justify Cynthia making the end, and they're going to start talking themselves into why she's a worthy winner very soon. I can call it. I can call it very early. But, hey, y'all will see it. And when we do see it, let me know. Because I ain't really on these feeds like that. I ain't on social media like that. Like, I'm enjoying the fact that feeds are dead because I can have my life back. I'm just saying what it is. The season walked out of the house like KRESSLEY. Oh, man. I agree, Patrice. They should keep Ozzy out of this. But, you know, Ozzy's engaging on Twitter. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. Okay, Gabby asked the question, Dave, what do you think of Tiffany and Davon? Please do not forget to hit that like button, by the way. Hold on, let me remind people real quick, because we deep up in here. But okay, Gabby asked the question, Dave, what do you think of Tiffany and Davon rooting for Lamar to win AFP? I think this is them clearly trying not to have Cynthia take a massive L on finale night by Shayna winning it. What you got to understand is the lesser of evils for them, right? In prior seasons, I don't think Tiffany and Davon would have ever sponsored a straight black man winning AFP ever. And straight black men have played better games than Lamar. Lamar's won no competitions, but he deserves AFP over Shayna. I don't know if I agree with that at all, right? I think if Lamar wins his HOH this week, I'm willing to agree he deserves AFP a little bit more, but he's got to earn it, right? I don't agree with just giving it to people. Once again, this is identity politics. If people rewarding Lamar is not going to be based off of anything but I like his personality in the house. It's not going to be based off of the gameplay he played. America's favorite player needs to get back to you were a good player and I like who you are. It needs to be substantiated. It needs to have some clout on it. It needs to be a worthy award to talk about. Like the NFL is letting everyone in the Hall of Fame now. So now the Hall of Fame, the gold jacket don't have the same weight to it. It don't have the same vibe. You don't feel like you belong to a prestigious group of men or players that have played this game before if you're inducted these days compared to in previous years. I'm worried the AFP is going to have that same impact very soon, where no one really cares who win it because they're going to start realizing it only goes to certain people based off what race they are. And that's what we don't want. We want to make sure black people who win it off merit. As long as they win it off merit, great. I just can't talk myself into Lamar deserving it off merit this season when we've already seen Davon win it and she didn't earn that off merit either. So I'm just saying we got to be careful what we wish for in these circumstances. Black folks, we need to just let Shayna have this one and we need to move forward. Because I tell you this, if Lamar ends up with that AFP, if Cynthia ends up winning this game next to Todrick in Final 2, BB24 might have only one black person on it. Listen, y'all think I'm joking. Listen, man. We need to know when the battle is won to a certain degree. And at the end of the day, Shayna deserves that AFP, in my humble opinion. Miesha deserves to win this game, in my humble opinion. And those two results I can live with. Even if it's two white women both winning something, I can live with it. Because at the end of the day, what I saw from Cynthia and Todd to a certain degree this week was a whole bunch of people prioritizing Miesha and Todrick's win conditions. And anytime you prioritize Miesha's win conditions and Todrick's, you're prioritizing Miesha winning next to Todrick. Therefore, she's the only deserving winner. And I think that's the logical way to look at all of this. You know, listen, we're going to have Big Brother Canada 10. We're going to have BB24. But we don't want BB24 to be completely... We don't want it to be a complete ambush. That's basically what I'm trying to tell y'all. We need to be willing to let some stuff go right here. We need to be willing. We need to be willing. Okay? Because if y'all are worried about BB24 now, it's going to get a lot worse if Cynthia Bailey becomes the winner of this season. We saw how Kayla was treated in BB Can 7 after Tamar won that season. I'm worried for black women on Big Brother Canada 10 if Cynthia wins and doesn't deserve it. Listen. That's enough of me venting. I'm just telling y'all, I see what can happen. I see what can happen. King Cash says, I'm rewatching BB Can 7. Do you think Anthony would have best Adam or got robbed? Oh, Anthony was always going to be robbed because they was hating on that brother. And salute to Champagne Tone, avid supporter of the channel. We rock with him. Oliver says, at least Tiff and Day are naming one of the right people to vote for. I mean, that's a good sign. I mean, that's good too, right? But once again, what you got to realize is Tiffany and Davon, I think, are cool with Todrick. They can't sponsor Todrick for AFP. Todrick hates Shayna. So this is a subtle shot at Shayna. But see, this is my problem once again, and I don't want to go too deep on it, but Tiffany put Claire, a blonde-haired woman, on a pedestal her season. Davon put two blonde-haired women on a pedestal during BB22. Both of those women should see why Shayna deserves AFP. For them to not endorse her for AFP should tell y'all something. It's not based on logic who they're endorsing, and that's not a good look either. Because after a certain point, it's okay for a non-black person to win AFP. It's okay. We don't want that to become the black award. Because pretty soon, we're not going to get winners ever again. The AFP is just going to be our little consolation prize. I'm telling y'all, don't make it our prize. It's not going to be worth it. Let me pin that at the top so people know. If Carson kept his deal, kept Todrick off the block, then Todrick wins veto and saves his girl anyways, what would have changed? The only thing that would have changed is Lamar would have been on the block next to Todd. Wait. Let me take it back. The only thing that would have changed was Shayna would have been on the block next to Todd. And no one sends Todd home over Shayna. Nothing would have changed in that situation. What I'm saying is you nominate Todrick next to Miesha initially, so that way, regardless who wins veto, they can only take themselves off. You vote off the other one, GG no re. Now Todd can take a shot at Carson or the remaining member of that duo. It's in a completely different Final Five. Completely different win conditions, completely different energy in the room. Cynthia now has to hold her own ovaries and play well individually, not rely on people dragging her places. It changes everything. I mean, I'd argue she would still want to be dragged, but it's a little harder to be dragged if Miesha and Todrick get split up. Nanya says, what was the point of having... I don't understand that Jerry thing. I think Jerry was there to speak... I think he was there to speak for production in certain instances. He played it very safe about a lot of people. He never really criticized much. You could tell he cared strongly about what happened to Shayna, but Julie kind of gave him a look and he didn't go deeper into it. So yeah, They say he's this big super fan. Maybe they're trying to push him for Celebrity Big Brother 4. I don't know. But for the most part, it was meh. They were trying to stall for some time, in my opinion. It was very random. Very random. Yes, please smash that like button. Kingsley says, he asked the question, do you think it's possible Cynthia has some learning issues? I'm not going to go there. That's personal. I'm just going to say she's not a good player. Because I don't know much about her outside of this game. I can only judge the game player she is. Right? And I'm trying my best to stick to that. I hope it's sounding that way. But, yeah. I respect your opinion, even if I don't completely agree. Yeah, Godfrey and Anthony were both robbed. Tamara Weatherspoon says, your rants are better than the actual show. They keep me occupied when I'm working these long night shifts. I also agree with you about Shayna for AFP. Thank you, Coach. I appreciate that. It's high praise. Thank you, Ann. Nanye says Cynthia will not win this game. Nanye. Okay. If Lamar don't win the HOH this week, I think Cynthia winds up in Final 3 easily. And then it just comes down to, can Todrick win an IQ competition over Miesha? Now, tonight, Miesha, she impressed me. Now, granted, that veto was super easy, low budget. Like, follow me. 3 different things. It reminded me of a little cup game people would play where they put the thing into a cup and then they move it around, and you got to pick where the cup is and stuff like that. At the end of the day, I'm not going to, it reminded me of one of those games you'll see at halftime, like at a baseball game or a basketball game on the big screen. Like one of them little halftime games. And everyone and their mama's like into it because they're getting drunk and stuff. But very low budget veto comp. But I will give Miesha some credit. She did really well in that competition. Carson did horribly. He only got like one answer right. Cynthia did decent, but you heard Carson during the episode. He was like, you got this, Cynthia. You got this. Like, he's putting pressure on her because he realizes she put him in this position to need her to win this comp to take him off. He's basically saying, can you be Shayna for me? And Cynthia's like, I'm trying. It's kind of hard to be Shayna. I didn't realize heavy is the head that wears the crown. That's why you shouldn't be so thirsty to try to be veto queen now, should you? I mean, listen to her say, I'm trying, as Carson is just begging her to step up and just follow a little picture in a little car. It's like, yo. And Lamar clearly wasn't trying. Lamar was like, man, ain't none of this meant for me. I'm just waiting to see one comp that benefits Lamar. If we somehow get a comp, and see, I'm hearing Todrick is complaining to production. Production told him that the comps moving forward are going to be luck-based. So Todrick doesn't think that's fair. I don't know if all of this stuff is true or some of this stuff is just people like throwing bait out there for Todrick haters to just retweet and complain. So I don't really run with it too much. Thank you for the super chat. I truly appreciate you, Miss Tamara Weatherspoon. You now have your Infinity Stone. I appreciate you. But yeah, so Todrick, he's not liking the fact that these comps could come down to luck. Because that could be the one thing that keeps him and Miesha from getting out Todd next, right? And if there's one thing about Todd, I think he could win a game of luck. I think he could get lucky. And, if Todd wins the veto this week and somehow wins Final 4 HOH, listen, I'm all in on Todd winning this game. If he can do those 2 things back to back, I'll be very impressed. Very impressed. I actually have more confidence in Todd to win the veto than I do in Lamar to win this HOH. And that's just because Todd has won something. Todd was really good in that wall comp. And at the end of the day, man, Ashley Larry deserves something to go his way. You feel it, dig me? And it was great seeing everyone's family, by the way, tonight. I don't want to just be in a criticizing mood. I thought that was very touching, seeing everyone's family. It was a nice reminder that all of these people are human beings with families, with kids, with husbands, with wives, parents, cousins, nieces, nephews, right? And sometimes we forget these things when we get emotional over this game. But understand, our emotions over this game is because we truly care about the integrity of the game itself. People talk about the dignity of the player. We care about the dignity of the strategy. If the strategy has no dignity to it, the season has no replay value, and that's the truth. But I digress. Um, I bet Shayna. Oh yeah, Shayna would have done really well in that veto comp, in my opinion. I think anyone with 2020 vision would do well in that veto comp. To be honest, it wasn't that difficult, ladies and gentlemen. But let me see if there's anything else regarding this episode I would like to dive deep into. If y'all have any more questions, please do not forget to ask them. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, one more reminder: there will not be a rant tomorrow night, because tomorrow night's episode will be more of a all of the things that have happened on this season so far. But production, why even air an episode like that when the season's only 3 weeks long anyway? What's the point? We remember what happened. It was like 3 days ago, what happened 2 weeks ago. Time is all relative here, but that's neither here nor there. Let me see if there's anything else from this episode I wanted to mention. The Jerry guy, I did take some notes on him. I did take some notes on this. Julie ran through all the players, and Jerry gave his take on them all. All he could say about Cynthia was, as a player, her heart isn't in the game, but now he thinks she has woke up. He was playing it real safe. He was not trying to get canceled, yo. He said Miesha is an alpha. I mean, he says he wants Lamar to win or Cynthia. So that tells me he doesn't like Todrick or Miesha either. Either that or he was just pandering to black people. I'm just saying. I don't know, but that was pretty much the levels of what he had to say. The votes, of course, were 2-1. Miesha and Todrick voted out Carson. Cynthia was the only vote who voted out Lamar. When Carson left, he hugged everyone and reminded them he made meatloaf for them. So not only did they do him dirty by lying to him, they're gonna eat his food after the fact. I mean, damn. If at least let me take it with me, coach. You know what I'm saying? Like Carson out here making casserole like the girl across the street from the girl in the window, whatever. Carson on that time, huh? He on the Veronica Mars side of the game. You got Miesha and Todrick acting like they liked Carson so much to damage control about breaking their word to him. They don't want his fans coming at them. They know what it is. Julie asks Carson about Monday night. Julie then holds Carson accountable for not targeting Miesha before Shayna. Julie specifically used my talking points by saying Carson believed Miesha and Todrick's words more than Shayna's actions. Julie, I know you be tuning in, all right? I appreciate it. Carson admits when he goes home, he will be mad if Todrick and Miesha lied to him about Shayna. So he's going to be mad tonight. He tries to blame Lamar and Todd for why he didn't take out Miesha, but once again, all he had to do was throw Todrick up. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, don't be too hard on Carson. I heard a family friend of his may have passed away, or a work buddy or something like that. So don't be too hard on the man, all right? He knows he choked, but he knows it was Cynthia's fault, and that's why he wants to play All-Stars. The callback. Now, in the goodbye messages, Todrick doesn't own his game much, just relies on their gay connection as a crutch. Lamar and Todd left him a cool message, basically said, hey, man, we respect you, we rock with you, yada, 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 woo out the bam. Cynthia says she can't wait to see him when she gets out. Miesha thanks him for playing a fair, noble game only because that helped her get to the end. That's like someone robbing you and saying thank you for not believing in snitching as they snatch all your valuable belongings. It's like an episode of Boondocks. Some of these people are handing out backhanded compliments. I mean, it's crazy to me. Let's keep it a bean in these streets. What kind of backhanded compliment is that? Thank you for playing a noble and fair game, which allowed me to backstab you like 3 times with impunity. Vote for me, though. Like, come on, Todrick. I mean, not Todrick. Come on, Carson. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, those are my thoughts. Unfortunately, we can't have nice things. I was trying my best to stall for time, hoping a new HOH winner would have been crowned by now. But it seems as if production are stalling when it comes to that, too. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to leave you all there, put a bookmark in it, and I'm going to see you all Sunday night. So if you could, please don't forget to like this video, comment underneath it, and share with all of the fans of Celebrity Big Brother that you rock with. I'm Dave Smith with Recency Bias Radio, where no one is safe from criticism. And I'll see you all on the flip side. Y'all have a wonderful weekend. Stay warm and stay safe in these streets. All right. And by the way, happy birthday to one of the patrons, by the way. And I'm out. Deuces. I am inevitable. I tried to tell